Hey, Matt Brown here, and I am wrapping up the Beatles' Abbey Road on bass. So this one is a real good song to work on for beginners. This is because. So for this one, for the most part, we're just doing kind of real basic root notes and arpeggios of the chords that we're playing. So it's real good exercise for that. Okay, so like I usually do with these songs, I'm going to tell you what the harmony instrument, in this case the harpsichord, what chords it is playing, so you know why you're playing what you're playing. So I'm going to start with the verse part where the bass enters, and what we're playing is in the key of D major, and we're playing in standard tuning. So the first 4 bars, what we have is, the first measure is a D major chord, the next chord is a D diminished chord, and then the next 2 bars we have 2 measures of C sharp minor. So what he's doing here over the D chord is just your low D root note, and then since the chord, or the root note of the chord, is staying the same for the D diminished chord, he's going to the upper octave. For the next chord, C sharp minor, going to the 4th fret for the root note there, doing an arpeggio, so that's 6th fret, 7th fret, back to the root, and then doing the same arpeggio notes again. Alright, so I'm going to go through then the next 6 bars that close out the verse. So the next bar that we have of the verse, we're going to have a D sharp minor 7 flat 5. And we're playing the root note of that one, which is at the 6th fret. On beat 4, the harpsichord is changing like the root note to an E note, so we're going to go up, play 7, 9, and then the next chord is a G sharp chord. So we're just going to play the root note, 4th fret there. Next chord is an A, root note, and then we're going to play the 5th on beat 4. And we're back to a C sharp minor. We're playing its root note. Then up to the 3rd at the 7th fret there. The last 2 chords that close out the verse are A7, and then the next bar is A13. So we're going to do an A root note in its upper octave. So I'll play that whole verse with the track without talking now. Alright, so a few things to point out too stylistically about this kind of style playing is it's marcato, or meaning marked, so there's a little bit of space between every note that's being played. He's also kind of bringing that out by the fact that he's playing an acoustic instrument, which I'm not, obviously. And another thing that's kind of a suggestion with this for volume and tone consistency is there's not really a need to use two fingers for this kind of thing, so I find that, just using one finger gives you more consistency, especially with electric bass. Alright, let's move on and check out the other parts. After the first verse, we're going to have another verse which is exactly the same. The bass line is played exactly the same way. And then we're going to have what I call a happy interlude. Basically what happens with this section is it starts off the same way as the verse. We have this D to D diminished thing. And then we're given a curveball chord from kind of out of left field. So what we're doing there is we're playing an F sharp chord, the third measure of this section. And then that's repeated in the next measure. It's up for the last beat of that. We're going to change the bass note to a D sharp note. And then we're going to have 2 bars of a G sharp 7 chord. So I'll just play this along with the track. Alright, then what happens next is the third verse, and what's interesting about this verse is we cut off the D in D diminished parts, pretty much for the reason that we're coming off a G sharp chord, which leads harmonically to a C sharp chord. So what we have is the 2 measures of C sharp minor, then we have the D sharp minor 7 flat 5 to G sharp to A, and then the verse ends the same way it normally does. So let's check out verse 3 since this is a little different. Alright, so that takes care of that. Then what we have is the fourth verse, and this is kind of how the track ends. And, every track on this album segues into the next song, so keep that in mind. If you think of this by itself, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But anyways, what we have is a, quote, normal verse where we start with the D and go to the D diminished and, end with A7 and A13. And then what we have is basically, it kind of seems like we're going to go and keep repeating, but, it basically, it has to end at a certain point. So, what I played at the beginning of the lesson in the playthrough is I just, went through the D and D diminished and tagged that on to the end, and that's where I stopped. Anyway, I'm Matt Brown, and that's all of the bass parts to this one. This is Because by the Beatles. Got, I think, just 2 more songs from this album, then I'll be moving on to other projects. Alright, so if you'd like the tabs, please email me, please subscribe and get notifications for my channel, and check out my band and my business. It's Matt Brown's Guitar Studio, and the band is Dead Parade. Alright, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys around for more lessons.